What is up guys, and welcome back to a new video on my channel. In this video we will be talking about a Lightroom Mobile, and we will be going through my personal Lightroom Mobile workflow and how I edit pictures in this app. Because summer is around the corner, I thought it was a really nice idea to edit some summer pictures and how to get that summer vibe look that you want in your pictures. All these edits and this workflow is also possible in the Lightroom desktop or the Lightroom Classic app, but for this tutorial or this workflow we will be using Lightroom Mobile because everybody has his phone with him at any time, and also Lightroom Mobile is free, so that's really nice. Alright, so before we start I want to mention that if you want to take better pictures with your phone, please check out my previous video where I talked about taking pictures with your phone and getting the best results or some tips. So that being said, let's get into the workflow. So here I have a photo that I took of myself in the place where I'm sitting right now. So we are going to edit this, and I want to really emphasize that it's summer and that summer is coming. So we are going to try to get that vibe. So first of all, I start in the basic or in the light tab. Here you do some basic adjustments. For me personally, it's almost always the exposure. Most of the times I lower exposure. It depends on if I under or overexpose my shot. Most of the time I don't want my highlights or my sky to be blown out, so I lower my exposure, and next up is lowering the highlights. It's also a big part, and you will see the sky is really coming out because I lowered the highlights. So let's say 70. I also higher the shadows, so we have a flat image to work with, because if you already have a lot of shadows and a lot of highlights in your picture, it's more difficult to edit the colors. So we are gonna flatten out the photo. So let's say around this. I higher the whites and the blacks. I lower the blacks a little for getting the most out of my dynamic range. You can see that I skipped the contrast. It's because this will come back later in the video. I don't usually use the contrast slider itself, but I do it with other properties. So next step, we have tackled the basic adjustments. So now we are going to color. In this step you can adjust the temperature and the tint. Most of the times I leave it as it is, especially when you are shooting with your phone. You are taking pictures with your phone. He sets the temperature automatically, and it's most of the time pretty good, unless you want a specific look to your picture. So let's say we want a little bit more to the yellow side, warmer tones. We can higher the temperature a bit like this. The rest of the sliders I leave alone. We can come back to this if we want to, but the next step is going to the color panel. So we go to the mix tab, and the first thing I always do, especially with summer pictures, is removing the yellows and desaturating the yellows and greens in my picture, because I don't know what it is, but I really don't like yellows and bright greens in my images. So what I'm going to do is slide the greens to the yellow, so we get a little bit of a rusty grass look, and then in the greens, I will desaturate this very much. As I said, I don't like the bright greens, and maybe we can bump up the luminance, that's the brightness of the color, to give it a little pop, yes, like this. And then we go to the yellows. In the yellows tab we just leave the hue as it is, but I really want to desaturate this color, so like this one. Luminance, well, let's say we up this a little as well, like this. The next thing I want to do is to make my blues less saturated and make them a little bit more towards teal, or more like aqua. As you can see, if I drag it all the way to the left, it's obviously completely aqua, but we don't want this. We want somewhere in the middle, like this, and then we desaturate this as well, because that's what I like. Obviously you don't have to copy me. I'm just giving my workflow and what I think looks nice on my pictures. I also lower the luminance of my blues because it gives a little more details to your sky. So now when we're done with the yellow, greens and the blues, I like to go to the oranges and the reds, because if you are shooting faces or people, you work with skin tones and you have to make sure that the skin tones look good. So right now, because we desaturated the yellows, we lost a little bit of saturation in the face too, and I think I'm gonna get back a little by maybe saturating the orange a bit and maybe add a little bit of luminance like this, and I think that looks pretty good. If you hold the screen, you can see the before and after. The next setting that I adjust in the photo is the tone curve. I know the tone curve is really scary, especially if you see this with all these grids and the line. Simply said, tone curve lets you adjust specific points in your image, like all the way in the top right is the whites. If you can see if I drag the whites down, you don't have white and your whole image is black. If you drag this dot up, you will have a completely white image. It's just so you have the blacks, you have the shadows, you have the midtones, and you have the highlights, but it will let you adjust them in more specific ways. Alright, so what I'm going to do is give a little bit of a boost to the highlights and get a little bit less shadows, or a little bit more shadows, deeper shadows. You can see that it really boosts the contrast in the picture, so that's why I said I leave the contrast slider alone, and I will do it most of the times with the tone curve. If you want, you can drag the blacks up, that you just crush the blacks and you get this like faded look. That's really popular, obviously, but I think I'm just gonna skip that, or just a little bit. So that's it for the tone curve. So with the tone curve we really added some contrast to the picture, but if you want to add some more, in some cases or some photos need a little bit more contrast, you can add these by, I personally add them by hiring the clarity or hiring the texture or the dehaze. It's in the effects tab, and all the three sliders have a different approach to adding some contrast to your picture. So what I most of the times do is hiring the clarity a bit. You don't want to overdo this because you can see it brightens the specific parts in your image, but you want to add a little bit. And then next up I want to add some dehaze. You can really see this in the sky, that if I drag the dehaze up, it's just overkill, I know. I want to add a little bit of dehaze. It will let the sky pop a bit more. So the next tab I visit is the details tab, and that's for sharpening the picture. If I would have taken my picture with my phone, now it's taken with my camera, but if I would have taken it with my phone, I would skip this step, because my phone app or any iPhone app automatically sharpens your picture. So in my case I took it with my camera, so I want to sharpen my picture a bit. Around 60 to 70 is like the sweet spot for me personally, because I really don't want to overdo it. Sharpening can really kill your image and can make your good image bad just by over sharpening your picture. So around 60-70 is what I like. And then I go to the masking. What masking does is, I will just show you. If you hold your if you hold your masking slider and you hold the screen, you can see the whole screen is white. But we want to mask out the parts we don't want to sharpen. So if I drag the slider to the right, you can see we are masking out parts. The black parts are parts that won't be sharpened. So only the edges will be sharpened, and that's what I want. So around 60-70 again is for me the sweet spot in this picture. So I will leave it at that. So as we can see, the picture already is a lot different from the original. This is the original and this is our edit. I really like the vibe already of the summer vibe, but we are not done yet. So the last step I take for editing my pictures is adding some vignette. So we go back to the effects and we add a little bit of vignette by dragging it to the left. You also again don't want to overdo this, because this obviously looks pretty bad. Only if you want to get this type of aesthetic you can go for it, but in my case I just want some subtle vignette, like around 6 or 7. And what I most of the times do is drag my feather and my highlights to 100%. So my feather to 100 and my highlights to 100. And now the last thing I like to do is, especially if I want to post this image on Instagram, I like to add some grain. And this is what we are doing, a little bit, like 10 or something. And yeah, I think that's it. You can add some color grading, but I don't think I will do it in this picture. Personally, I like to add some masks after I edited my picture to really emphasize some parts or some of my subject in my picture. But because this is a paid feature, I won't feature it in this workflow. But if you want to see a video about masking specific, please let me know in the comments and I will get to you, or I will make the video. And I think that's it for this edit. Let's see the before and after. I personally really like this edit. I think it gives real summer vibes in my opinion, and yeah, I just like it. For the people that are still watching, thank you so much. To show that I'm grateful that you're still here, because I really am, I'm gonna link the preset that we just created, or that I just created, in the description, so you can download it, and I will provide some instructions on how to install it. And yeah, if you are interested, go check it out. You can use the preset and tag me in the pictures that you use the preset on. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Alright, so I think this was it for me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more tutorials or workflows like this, please let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. As always, I love you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.